And anything that you've seen from any of your retail clients about that you would share as ideas for other folks to strengthen their positions, to be ready for the rebound so that they can come out strong?
And I think we really need to look at the data and as retailers and brands, like look at in the market, really like what is shifting, what are consumers thinking about, what do they care about differently now versus before? I think there's the obvious ones that I mentioned earlier, but I think that depending on your business, it really needs to be nuanced. And there's I think a lot more sensitivity now around just like how you message consumers. You know, throwing out like a promotion or a discount, thinking through that, like how is that going to be received? What is the message? And really thinking about the tone, I think, of the message. You know, I think I think people really need to pay attention to how they communicate to the consumer and watch and see what the consumer is reacting to and not. You know, how that relates to marketing. I think it's all just about, you know, your all encompassing, like the whole message of the company or the brand and what you're putting forth. I've seen some amazing things that companies are doing and saying out in their communities just about, you know, we're, you know, talking about how this has brought us together in a lot of different ways instead of just pushing the 40% off promotion, you know, like connecting with the consumer, I think will be different. I just think that it's maybe, and hopefully for the merchants, an opportunity to get away from the frequency and heavy discounting that so many have gotten into kind of a trap of doing. So what sort of value do they bring other than discounting, and how can they mirror what's important to the consumer? That is, you know, what's the offering that's not just a discount?
Yeah, a real opportunity to get in line with with the folks they're serving.
Exactly.
Bring authenticity and build the brand and loyalty. Yeah, like a partnership.
Exactly. And how does that translate to in-store once the stores do reopen? Like, what's the sensitivity around, you know, something as simple as the point of sale, like touching the keypad versus a contactless opportunity? So how is that going to shift how consumers pay? Will people pay more with Apple Pay and Google Pay because it's tap and go, and there's really nothing for them to touch? Something, you know, simple like that. But I think there's, you know, different opportunities along those lines, and how people think about how the virus has impacted them and how we get back into world in the new normal, what that means in terms of execution in stores. And something like point of sale is just one example, but I think that will change too. Like, what about people picking up more buy online,